Okay, let's get started. First, good morning and greetings to you all, and thank you for joining BICOM and IBM for today's webinar entitled Infuse AI into Your IT Operations for Multi-Cloud Management. We believe this is a relevant topic in today's world, where more and more organizations are faced with the challenge of how do they manage their on-prem, cloud, and hybrid environments. We've also seen that organizations know that they now need to infuse AI into their IT operations to help them with the challenge that they're facing with their applications. They need their applications to be more agile and to be able to scale in order to adjust and shift in response to the rapidly dynamic market demands that they're facing today. And it's because of these challenges that we put this webinar together today to show you that you're not alone and that there are solutions out there to help you address them, such as IBM NOM, NetCool Operations Management, IBM Cloud Pak for Multi-Cloud Management, as well as Watson AI Ops. As I mentioned prior, please note that we are recording this session today. So without further ado, let me introduce you to the panelists today. So my name is Limbert LaChapelle, and I am a Senior Client Success Manager at BICOM Computer Services. I will be hosting and acting as the moderator for this webinar today. As you saw on the previous slide, BICOM is a full-service multi-cloud solution provider with over 3 decades of history in helping our customers drive business innovation. And the way that we do that is through advanced IT solutions, services, and our support offerings. And that very much includes solutions such as the ones we will be presenting today. We work very closely with IBM, as we are an IBM Platinum Business Partner. Without further ado, let me introduce you to the key speakers for today. We have Manoj Kavi from BICOM, and we have Albert Trailer from IBM. Manoj is the Senior Director of our EMS practice at BICOM, which is our Enterprise Managed Services, and he's going to be covering the presentations and the demo on NetCool Operations Manager, while Albert Trailer, who is a IBM Cloud Pak Manager, will be discussing the IBM Cloud Pak for Multi-Cloud Management. Both of them will do a presentation, a few slides on the overall solution, but more importantly, they set some time apart to do a live demo as well. We really want to make this webinar and the information presented today to be intriguing, but even more importantly, we want it to be useful to you and your organization. So let me go into the logistics of the webinar before we get started. The webinar in total will be approximately an hour. As I mentioned, we are recording the session. The presentations and the demos would probably go for 45 minutes or so. We certainly are hoping that I have enough time to have a QA session at the end. With that said, I've muted everyone for the duration of the session and limited the questions today to chat only. So if you have any questions, please send them directly to me via the chat window. Again, I'm Limbert LaChapelle, and we will address them at the end during our QA session. Again, the objective today is to show you that you guys are not alone. There are organizations like yours are facing similar struggles out there. And we at BICOM, partnering with IBM, can help you address those challenges that you're facing today. So once again, thank you for joining us today. And let us dive into the presentations. Albert, I will hand over the presentation to you so you could start the conversations around IBM multi-cloud management. Go ahead, Albert. Take the presentation mode.
Awesome, thank you. So while we're getting that pulled up, I want to just take a moment to thank everyone for attending. I think that was a great introduction, kind of a level set. And with that introduction, I want to dive deeper into the topic of hybrid and multi-cloud management. So the specific kind of offering that I want to focus on today is the IBM Cloud Pak for multi-cloud management. And within that, I want to start things with a stat that I hope kind of sticks with you and resonates. And I think this kind of shows the scale, right? So Lambert was talking a little bit about this, but to quantify it, from 2018 to 2023, 500 million new applications will be created, and that's equal to the number in the last 40 years. So the scale and kind of the value that's associated with these applications is enormous, right? And how those applications are connected to the business is one way to think about this. So if we add some kind of standard questions to use, right? I need applications to be more agile. I need diverse tooling that helps me optimize performance of the applications. And I need flexibility for those tools to work together to better service the application and the business at large. And I need scaling, right? I need the ability for my applications to flex based on the performance parameters and the requirements of the business. And so the reality is this whole conversation is an IT conversation centered around applications and the business. And with that, I think there's some kind of standard entry points that we're seeing clients come into the Cloud Pak for multi-cloud management through. The first use case is really around visibility. So taking that environment and starting to create processes and capabilities to visualize and kind of see the overall environment, IT operations and how that piece of the puzzle can be optimized based on the deployment type, application modernization and management, and finally, governance and compliance management. And that will be the piece that I focus on the most during our demo today. So quickly, I just want to take a couple of slides to talk through what I mean by each of these 4 entry points, right? So visibility management across a hybrid environment. So the objective here is to talk about hybrid environments and a hybrid cloud environment with really a fairly flexible, large-scale definition, right? So it's your cloud-native applications, it's your VM environment, and it's the idea that there's a kind of an orchestration and a symphony that goes on between these deployment models. It's important to view cost tracking and analysis, right? So across these environments, how are you managing the costs and the associated, internal policies with the resources that you're using? And one of the other things I think is unique to the Cloud Pak is the ability to search across this environment in native text and native language. So, I'll kind of briefly show that in the demo as well. And one of the other pieces as we move forward is about IT ops transformation. So one of the things the Cloud Pak does is it creates a variety of predefined templates to help with your current tooling and to basically help provision and automate infrastructure faster. There's also some scale or some resources around looking at the root cause. So there's a specific incident or management challenge, you have the ability to more quickly resolve that incident. And the other thing is really around scaling requirements, right? So as applications need to, or as deployments need to scale, the Cloud Pak for multi-cloud management helps manage that process in an automated way. And this is while we're talking about the application piece, right? So one of the other things is the ability to deploy and move hybrid applications across cloud deployments. So the Cloud Pak for multi-cloud management can keep the state of the application steady and move across deployment models, right? So if there is a pricing or kind of a thresholding on a certain Kubernetes cluster and it needs to be moved to a different Kubernetes cluster for compliance, for cost and asset management reasons, the Cloud Pak for multi-cloud management can automate that response quickly and effectively. The other piece is that there's this element of preventive, basically preventing application bottlenecks and performance issues. And one of the key sort of SRE toolings that we use here is around the golden signals, right? So latency, errors, traffic, saturation, and then thresholding along all 4 of those parameters within the Cloud Pak so that you, the operator or the SRE team, has an effective sort of one place to view, those 4 key golden signals for an application. and help meet SLIs and SLOs in the process. And then finally, governance and risk compliance, right? So the reality is that we've seen in the industry over time, we've seen a little bit of a shift left with development having more and more ability to define and change and adjust policies for certain applications and for certain deployments. And one of the things that I think the Cloud Pak does really well, and we've actually recently won an award for this, is being able to define policies, place the policies on a certain deployment, and then have that policy be sticky throughout the application lifecycle. So as I mentioned, we've won an award recently from EMA. We are one of the top 3 finalists for their hybrid cloud management category. And one of the kind of the defining pieces of our submission was the ability to apply these policies and have them stay with the deployment throughout the life cycle. So that was a kind of a unique capability with the Cloud Pak. And then the other thing is sort of the flip side of the coin, right? So the auditability of those policies, knowing where the vulnerability exposures are and being able to adjust and automate a response to those different pieces. So one of the things I also want to talk about is the openness of our Cloud Pak for multi-cloud management. So we have what we like to call an open core model. And the idea is that there's this need to bring in best-of-breed tooling for an operations or SRE team. And one of the things Cloud Pak for multi-cloud management does really well is we allow our clients and our users to have the flexibility to bring in the tools that they need, right? So looking kind of across the bottom, right, this is the different deployment models that I talked about and the management of those different public cloud and traditional IT and infrastructure components. And then if you work your way up, you can see all of the tooling capabilities that are quick and easy to plug into the Cloud Pak for multi-cloud management. Logging and monitoring capabilities, performance and speed, DevOps pipelines, automation capabilities. And all of that is something that comes out of the box with the Cloud Pak, is the ability to take existing tooling and plug into the Cloud Pak quickly and effectively. And then I would be kind of remiss if I didn't talk about the top of the chart, right? So how does it integrate with other existing toolings, right? So how are we surfacing this information in existing infrastructures, our existing tooling, right? So we have integrations with PagerDuty, with Slack, Splunk, Dynatrace, Microsoft Teams. And one of the other things I wanted to highlight was we have a grouping of preferred partners that have capabilities that are quickly and easily kind of embedded in the Cloud Pak for multi-cloud management. Hazelcast, Turbonomic, Sysdig Secure is part of the Cloud Pak. Humio is another piece. So I just wanted to briefly kind of highlight the fact that we have a grouping of partners that have capabilities that we recognize as industry leading and very, very sort of connected to the Cloud Pak multi-cloud management user base and how they need the tooling to work to manage their environment more effectively. So with that, let me quickly, I've got a short demo here pulled up, and I will bring that over to the screen. Sorry, I'll have to stop sharing for 1 second. I'll come right back. I promise it's on its way. There we go. Let me pull that up. I'll actually go back to the home page. So this is a live demo environment for the Cloud Pak for multi-cloud management. And the first step into the solution, you can see at a really high level what I'm talking about, right? So you can see the different cloud provider types. In this case, we have 140 VMs with VMware. We have one Kubernetes cluster and 132 VMs with Amazon. you can just kind of see, in a very visible way what that looks like as far as the variety of cloud providers. And that's the reality that a lot of our clients are facing, is that they're using an average of 6 to 10 cloud providers. They're using a kind of a hybrid of traditional on-prem and Kubernetes clusters with virtual machines. And then you can kind of continue to see, right? So the compute resources that's associated with it, the applications. And throughout the Cloud Pak, it's pretty much split along a really similar lines, right? So there's the application piece, and or there's the applications, infrastructure, compliance capabilities, and then underneath each of those is the status of the containers and then the virtual machine capabilities, right? And that's pretty consistent across all of the Cloud Pak. So one thing I wanted to quickly focus on, I'm going to pull this up really quickly. I wanted to talk about a little bit about compliance policies, right? So actually, I'll go about it this way. So here are a grouping of container policies, and at a glance, you can see what status your clusters are. So, right, non-compliant, 1 out of 4 non-compliant, and non-compliant. And this is in a namespace that's usually associated with a specific application. So if you drill down into this, you can quickly sort of in one step off of the home page, open up the environment or the application, and you can see the details of a specific policy and where the violation is associated with it. So let's go to violations, see if anything comes up. So message, right? Couldn't find mapping resource with kind VM policy. Please check if you have corresponding policy controller deployed, and then the reason associated with that. So you can see that consistently across all of the environments. And if I had a few more minutes, I would probably go into how to fix that. But instead I wanted to focus on policy deployment, and I wanted to actually call out the standards that you see here. So NIST, keep that in mind. I'll show you what how that works here in a second. So let's go into govern risk from the main dashboard. And as you can see, this is just another version of that same policy deep dive capability, right? So the container policies, how many are in violation, the number of clusters that are in violation, and then kind of that same piece we saw from the home page. And I wanted to go into new policy, right? So you can quickly see that I have the ability, here's the YAML code along with the policy. I can select the namespace. So if I wanted to select a certain cluster, the specifications, the ability to apply mutation advisor, the ability to kind of change the certification policy. And then the other thing, as I mentioned, there's also these predefined policy templates and standards. So there's a library of these. I'm showing 4 now. I think in our 2.0 release in a few weeks, we'll see significantly more of these. But I could quickly and effectively, let's say, apply NIST, controls, enforced and supported, hit create, and then off you go. So I don't want to create right now because I think someone else may be using the environment. But it's pretty quick and effective to spin up and create a policy that is then work with this deployment as it moves around through the Cloud Pak for multi-cloud management. So that was a real quick demo. I wanted to kind of tie off on some next steps because I think it's important that we kind of share where the product is heading, and there's a deeper dive. Let's see. Take a look. Okay. So let's talk a little bit about where the Cloud Pak for multi-cloud management is heading. So let me pull into the full mode. Okay. So there is kind of this reality behind this, right? So there is a large number of incidences and security and compliance vulnerabilities that are caused by some level of human error. And the reality is it's a sizable minority, 23%. And also, as we kind of looked through that risk and compliance, you saw the compliance violations, and within the Cloud Pak, the ability to look at incidences and potentially predict downtime. You can see why that's important, right? So less than 1% of your alerts are critical, but it costs $420,000 per hour in downtime. And in kind of a similar vein of like an SRE tooling, a lot of operators are being asked to manage and configure a really, really large deployment. You know, the old SRE quote is that with 1,000 nodes or more, it literally becomes impossible to configure and manage. And noticing these trends, noticing where the Cloud Pak for multi-cloud management is, really that gets into the meat of what Manoj and the call is today is about AI for intelligent IT operations and starting to embed AI into hybrid and multi-cloud management. And at four kind of big bucket levels, here are the things that we view as critical, right? So being application-centric and being able to define and uniformly apply policies across the cloud environments. Having insights delivered wherever teams work. So as I kind of showed in that partner page, the reality is that the tooling and the communication mechanisms of teams and organizations is different. So you have to have the ability to deliver those insights wherever the team works. Automation, right? So when we talk about that security and governance capabilities within the Cloud Pak, how do we start to automate and more effectively deliver on a consistent security and governance plane and platform with automated responses opposed to manual sort of tedious processes? And then the broader kind of big picture, right? So infusing AI across hybrid multi-cloud environments. So positioning AI at the core of your IT operations and starting to solve incidences to maximize the governance capabilities and consistency to start to apply AI to cost and asset management as you move forward in a hybrid multi-cloud environment. So at a really high level, that's really what I wanted to kind of step away with is that, you know, the Cloud Pak for multi-cloud management has the capabilities that I kind of showed and walked through, but looking forward, it's about how can AI be applied to make hybrid and multi-cloud management better and make your operations teams, you know, more comfortable and more effective with the resources that they have. So that concludes my piece of the presentation. I wanted to say thank you and then hand it back over.
Well, thank you, Albert. Outstanding job. Thank you. There was definitely a lot of interest. There is already a couple of questions posted, so we'll address them at the Q&A session. So again, outstanding job. I'm going to hand over presentation mode to you.
Sure, absolutely. And let me start sharing my screen here, and I'm going to share the whole screen. All right. Thank you, everyone, and thank you very much, Albert, for the handoff. I think, and that gives me a perfect a segue into why it is important to infuse artificial intelligence into your IT operations to improve your mean time to identification, mean time to isolate, and mean time to repair. At the end, you know, the cloud transformation journey as well as application modernization journey provides you the numerous opportunity to be more agile and produce and deliver applications much faster, much quicker. It also poses a challenge to manage your IT operations. It has become tremendously challenging to monitor your infrastructure and improve your mean time to improve and mean time to repair, and also deliver applications faster, what we call time to market. You know, the data is rapidly coming from in various volumes from different systems, IT systems, networks, and applications as you're delivering more applications. And when we are looking at the data, there are, and on an average, we see 20 to 40 different monitoring tool sets that organizations leverage to look at the data. And that actually possesses a lot of complexity. Typically it takes anywhere between 5 to 7 hours per person on a level 1, 3 to 4 people looking at the events coming from all the sources. Because I think they have to really go through the different types of data to analyze. They have to go through the events and metrics and traces, transactions, wire data, logs, and weather, even sometimes the weather data, even the social feed, and see how, if we can create a context to take a better decision to categorize and prioritize your events that you need to work on. And at the same time, not only you're getting unprecedented volume of data, but it is actually being thrown at you in a velocity to observe and improve upon. And as we make those decisions, how do we automate those? How do we not only just identify those issues quicker, isolate them faster, but can I then leverage my knowledge, the institutional knowledge that my IT department has gained? Can I leverage it to make decisions much quicker, and even further, even to a certain degree, automate that? So I can actually then improve my mean time to repair from X hours to literally in few minutes. That being said, the traditional approach, may not work. If you look at the typical, as I mentioned earlier, as we find a lot of different tool sets in organizations, right from your network monitoring to your trace monitoring to your social feed and the log monitoring and so forth. And when something breaks, what we do is it's very difficult to identify whether this is a real event or is it a false positive, or people start ignoring. And then as we see the data coming from different sources, we have to go to the multiple consoles and basically create a chaos to monitor, basically narrow down the root cause and prioritize the incident that to work upon. And we basically end up into a finger pointing situation, and sometimes a firefighting to really put up the fire and narrow down. And actually that could these longer diagnosis and resolution time could really cause anywhere between tens and thousands of dollars to hundreds and thousands of dollars loss per incidents, depending on the type of incidents we have. And that is where we basically see the traditional approach of IT operations may not work in the application modernization strategy. And that is where we see the AI operations can help you to drive the efficiency and improve your IT operations faster. As you can see on this here, the Watson AI Ops is basically a solution for your agile, proactive, and constantly improving AI-driven operations management solution. It can collect the data from all your different sources that you have, be structured data, events coming from different monitoring tool sets, the topological data coming, which is constantly evolving from your Dockers being spin up and down, or getting the application traces coming from different sources. You also need to have access to the logs to make sure as some things are broken, how do I go and fix it? How do I go about it? How do I understand what the log says? And at the same time, how can I even leverage the non-IT data by collaborating with social feed and weather data and see if there is any context that I can bring in to even make sense out of it, and maybe correlate the data so I can reduce the noise and get a comprehensive context so I can identify the anomalies versus the real events versus false positive, and collaborate with the application team or SRE team who has been leveraging platforms such as chatbots or Slack or Microsoft Teams, as Albert mentioned. How can I leverage those and to a further extent identify them ways to fix them faster, and even to a certain degree let my chatbot tools make those automation decisions for me to repair it faster and restore my services faster. Obviously the question comes up is what's the difference between the traditional operations that we have been doing and versus what's an AIOps? What we really bring to the table. I think the important aspect is the infusion of AI, infusion of machine learning into your day-to-day IT operations is the key ingredients to reduce your ticket creation, actionable tickets, improve your MTTR by 80%, and even also reduce your incident creation by 85%. These are the typical benefits that we see from customers infusing AI into the system. The AI is basically helps you to leverage the new technologies such as event clustering or understand the typical trends or hotspot or machine learning capabilities such as multivariate anomalies, look at the patterns into it and help you to simplify and focus and narrow down to the events and helps you to predict. So you can actually, what I think was, as he mentioned, Albert mentioned, shift to left focus, so you can be more proactive and be prepared and use that experience that your system has learned and what has happened in my past week or 2 weeks or month, and can I use the data to be more proactive and be prepared, and even further tie that data to my 9 non-IT or even IT different sources or social media feeds or any other non-IT feeds to even provide a better context to understand how do I qualify, categorize, and further prioritize my events, which events is more important to me versus one versus other. Let system help me to make a decision and even sometimes put a relation together for me. Those relations may be sometimes from a human eye perspective, maybe sometimes not related, but systems can actually read data from all different sources and maybe help you to identify, hey, these are something related, can help you to prioritize and even speed up your resolution faster. The way we go about implementing this AIOps, and obviously, in a minute, I think I will walk you through a quick short of demonstration, the real life demonstration. But the way we go about is basically we start with this collection phase. Collect that data at all scale. At a very high scale. We collect the data from all your disparate systems in one place, and maybe so to help you to create a data lake. That data can come from your agent-based technologies, agentless technologies, APIs, logs, customer data, social media data, maybe a service management data such as tickets and CMDB or what have you. And the data can come in any form, metrics, events, even topology. That basically then is analyzed in the what's an AIOps core engine, which is basically understand the baseline health of applications. It applies various machine learning, and that machine learning can help identify anomalies very quickly, helping clients to reduce the time to identify anomalies and to avoid subjective conclusion versus objective evidence-based AI advice. It leverages various different machine learning techniques such as event clustering. Seasonal analytics can help you to identify, hey, is this a noise versus a real problem that I need to work on or I need to suppress upon it. And collaborate that with the team and further collaborate with your team to identify the fastest way to fix the problem and lower the time to resolution by implementing pre-built runbook automation or even integrating with your existing notification systems and help collaborate with the SRE team to work upon the incident a much more collaborative way and reduce your that window of multiple hours of downtime to few minutes, and which basically in turn saves dollars. So just kind of highlight and mention, right? Vicom has been working with such technology and with IBM for many years. Has contributed to this community by building a lot of integrations and adapters, what we call APIs. It's a world of APIs. Being able to how do I get the data from my log sources, my network sources, my tools, whether those are IBM tools or non-IBM tools. How can I bring it together? And we have been working with IBM very closely to build that ecosystem so you can bring the data from all the different types of sources. And this is just basically some sample list that I have put together that you can see. We have also collectively kind of worked with the clients to understand some of the challenges that we see in IT operations, and we help clients to even reduce the false positives during maintenance windows that we see into day-to-day security governance operations we see across. And what we have done is we have built this enterprise blackout manager platform which tightly integrates with IBM AIOps platform, and even further helps you to further reduce your actionable tickets during the maintenance windows. It's as your Watson AIOps platform starts collecting raw data from different sources, go through the consolidation phase, go through the correlation phase, leveraging machine learning algorithms. Even IBM even further helps you to reduce that noise and just have your team focus on only actionable tickets and further improving efficiency of your IT operations team. Just to talk about very high level, working with IBM for 18 plus years in this IT operations and AIOps service management space, expertise to bring in to handle large volume of events, provide not only implementation services, but also help clients to how do we better operate, how do we better manage, and also continuously bring the integration capabilities to bring data from various sources. You can always visit Vicom's YouTube channel, and you can see we talk about all these capabilities. We talk about integrations and Watson AI capabilities that you can listen to some of the customer testimonials that talks about how customers are using these two technologies to improve their IT operations. I think that being said, I'm just going to basically close and quickly take you to the demonstration of the product. And this is basically a live product demonstration that we have where we are collecting data from all the different sources. Right off the bat, you can see that as much as this dashboard looks more busy, but at the same time, it also helps you to really narrow down the areas that you need to pay attention to. We are collecting, as you can see, we are collecting data from all the different sources. You are getting the data from different customer environment, different business services, different locations. On the right hand here, we can see we are getting not only the data from the events, but logs. We are also getting data from your tickets and change management. You can see if there are any systems under maintenance on your right. You can also narrow down, do I have more issues with applications versus database? Or do I have issues on customer 22 versus customer 10? Or do I have issues on a particular location such as Abingdon versus Dallas? And are there any particular changes going on in this system? Or are there any incident already been worked on those customers that you can see right off the bat? Here, as you can see on this console here, I also have some of what you call this plus signs here. The plus signs is basically what it explains is the system has already identified the data, has already built some correlation using machine learning algorithms, and says, hey, look, you have these two algorithms, and this particular event is probably the parent event and you have two events that are basically child events automatically grouped it for you. So rather than creating the noise of these tickets into the ticketing system, you can right there, you can just basically select this particular parent event and create a ticket into the ticketing system, what you have, maybe ServiceNow or Remedy and so forth. And what it will do for you is automatically go ahead and create the ticket. And right there, you basically, as you can see in the demo environment, we were able to narrow down the amount of tickets from 3 to only 1 to work upon. And you can basically then follow up the ticket number, the ticket status, what's happening, who's been working on the ticket, and so forth, so and so forth. At the same time, you can also, I'm going to basically take you to this another capability that is built into the tool is the seasonality. As you might want to see that system automatically reads the data for you for last X number of days, years, and obviously this being a demo system, we have a lot of some history in the old events in the system still kept on from a demo purposes. As you can see, we have different seasonalities being identified by the system. The system automatically identifies for you that I have some events which are highly seasonal. We have some events which are medium seasonal. We have some events with low seasonality and so forth. And actually, you can go in and basically what you can do is you can actually create a rule for those systems. Say, yes, automatically I know my system has detected this happens this time of the year, this time of the day, or this time of the month, and either you suppress the event or you basically create particular action, maybe perform action only certain validation, or if you want to create a synthetic event to say, hey, this is a false positive, just to have something from a cataloging perspective, and you can ignore. So you can do all sorts of combination. Not sure if we have some, let's talk about seasonality graph. It shows the 0 events. I'm not sure if we have any events in the system, but if we were to see, right there it shows up very visually, very simple that, hey, these events always occurs at 4 a.m. of the day and typically 21st or 23rd of the minute of that hour. And it happens mostly Monday, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. And it typically happens on 21st of the day, 23rd of the month, and 24th of the month. So it's very, gives you the trend of what is happening, and it basically helps you to make that decision. And then you can go back and basically let system automatically separate these alerts for you. So you are basically taking leverage of the algorithms of seasonality that system identified and let you know this is a typical pattern that you can ignore and save some time on it. Similarly, you can also leverage logs coming from different systems, to kind of understand the trends, what is happening here. Hey, now how many incidents I'm getting from each customer in my last 24 or 6 months or quarter, which teams are being heavily utilized so I can allocate my resources appropriately. Is my network team busy versus my storage team or my application team busy? Am I getting more tickets from Remedy, or am I being written more tickets in the Remedy system? Or my L1 team is which team? What is my resolution time by the group? Who is taking most time in my ticket resolution process? The L1 team or network, the team that is the ticket assigned to, or the other teams we've been working on. And I can see type of tickets that I'm getting from customers. So this will help you to kind of identify the resource utilization, which technologies or which domains are having more issues, and you can actually then allocate your resource planning to proactively to manage your issues. I can also go back and look into my trends. What are the different types of trends I have? What type of alerts that I'm getting more? Am I getting more link-related alerts or disk-related alerts? Or am I having a lot of availability issues? What top locations being affected? Hey, I see here Island East is being affected versus Chicago or Houston in the space here. Or which customers I see being affected most in my last 24 hours. So right there, it actually helps you to kind of narrow down your focus. And hey, looking at my customer 22, which requires more attention, I can actually divert my resource pool as well as attention to that particular customer. So helps me to bring the service back to my customer 22, because maybe my customer 22 is a highly paid customer, so I want to make sure I pay the most attention to that customer. And what type of issues that customer 22 has? Is it a link-related issue or disk-related issue? And within that customer, where should I focus more? I can even narrow down and see I have ERP issues versus my LO Pages application issue, or could be my IT operations application issue. So IT operations being an application itself is monitored in this system. So this gives you a very detailed, very thorough trend and pattern, so you can actually analyze and help you to narrow down the issues. And not only that, as you see some of these, what's happening into my platform. I can literally go down to the log level and see, am I having any audit issues, or am I having any login failure issues, or disk issues, or disk access issues. And not only you get that issue, the automation actually helps you to make a determination. Let's say I can go ahead and click this particular log event, and I can say, hey, you know what? Let me show me the advice. How do I solve this particular log? I see error number 4625, and what should be my advice? Voila, right there. Now that system has already gone out into the world, wild west, and found out, hey, yep, you have seen this issue in the past, and this is how this is what expert advice says. Basically, this is a security audit issue, and by the way, this is literally takes you to the Microsoft Windows knowledge base. Okay, this is the security audit, and this is how you need to fix. So as you can see that right from your initial console, that where you have all the data in, you basically went on narrowing. Obviously, this console help you to narrow down where to focus, but at the same time, how do I start then taking action on it? Look at, are there any logs associated to a particular server, particular error? Was there a pattern? Was there a trend? And how do I resolve it? So this whole process, the whole notion of identification, what we call mean time to identify, whole notion of mean time to separate out, and then how the more notion of mean time to diagnosis, and then further mean time to repair. As you can see, having all the tools at the right fingertips and integrated drastically reduce your time from hours to minutes, and that's the value of AI ops. I think that being said, I think that concludes my demo. I hope this is how AI ops can help you to reduce the time to detect the problem, and reduce the mean time to repair, and automate your resolution process by integrating all the data you have in into one platform. That being said, Lambert, I'm handing it back to you, and we can open up for any questions you have. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Thank you, Manoj. Outstanding job. Thank you again. Let me just go back. I'm going to just take presentation mode. And let me share some. Oops. You're able to see my screen?
Not yet.
Okay. Okay, so let's, how about now? Everybody can see the screen?
Yep, we can see it.
I guess first question came for you, Albert, on the Cloud Pack for MCM. First question was, is this available as a trial?
So, yeah, thanks for that question. It is not available as a trial today, but as part of our 2.0 release in just a couple of weeks, right around August 7th, we will have a trial available shortly thereafter. So the trial should be fairly easy to download. I think it's going to be on our webpage, so something to check back for and look out for in just a couple of weeks' time.
Okay, great. And the second one was for you also, Albert, was our policies applied across the applications?
Yeah, so that's, I kind of mentioned that with the EMA award we received recently. The policies basically stick to whatever deployment or cluster they're applied to, and they go across the application as they kind of are moved. So yes, the policies in Cloud Pack multi-cloud management are sticky and will move. So.
Yep, Lambert, probably you might be on mute. Albert,
sorry about that. So again, Albert, thank you for the response there. Manoj, they had also a couple of questions for you. First one says, I am an existing Netcool customer. Is there an upgrade path for this?
Yeah, no, great question. Absolutely. I think IBM makes it pretty, straightforward and seamless. There is an upgrade path. The customer who are already existing on the Netcool, after upgrading to the latest platform called Netcool Operations Intelligence, they can easily put on the add-ons for Watson AI Ops. So yes, there is an upgrade path from the legacy / the older version of Netcool into the new NOI platform, which then further can integrate it with Watson AI Ops. So the answer is yes, and in fact, IBM has not only just provided the upgrade, but also added a lot of new features and functionalities at no cost to the customer within the existing NOI. So yes, there is an upgrade, but also there are some additional capabilities that are available at no cost as well to the platform.
Great. And then the last question for you, Manoj, it says, can I ingest data from existing non-IBM tools? I know you mentioned it in the presentation and you showed a few, but there were, I guess, more specific around tools like Datadog and Splunk. Yeah,
no, I think absolutely. That's the beauty of the Watson AI Ops platform. This is a vendor agnostic platform and open API platform. So the idea is to build the data lake, being able to ingest the data from Datadog or AppDynamics or Splunk or even your custom Elastic log source that you might have. Data could be coming from agents or agentless sources, and you can feed that data into data lake. And Watson AI Ops actually doesn't really care what data is coming in, whether it is unstructured or structured. All it needs basically an access to read from the data lake to run your algorithms on.
Great. So I know we're coming here to the top of the hour, so just wanted to close out by thanking all of you attending the webinar today. We hope you found the information to be useful, and more importantly, to be relevant to your organizations and the challenges that you're facing today. If you're interested in hearing more about these offerings from IBM or anything else that Vicom does and is able to help, free to reach out to me. You see my contact information. I'll leave it up there for a couple of more minutes while we end the session. Again, I want to thank you on the behalf of Manoj, Albert, Vicom, and IBM for your time today, and thank you for considering Vicom and IBM. We wish you have a great rest of the day today. Please stay safe, and I'm going to stop the recording now. And like I said, I'll leave our contact information on the screen to the top of the order, so for the next few minutes. Again, Albert and Manoj, thank you so much for coming today and for the information you shared. Again, you guys also please stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.